All right. So I want to do a quick video to kind of complement the blog post I'm doing on this DNS form I wrote some time back for a customer looking for a rather simple solution to updating, really validating and updating DNS records in their environment without having to use heavy tools like RSAT. RSAT's just kind of annoying to have to install on all the machines in your organization is a hassle. Updating it can be a hassle, and then many times you just don't want to give like everyone in your organization access when they want to just validate a DNS record, which isn't hard to do. If you think about DNS, especially Windows DNS in domain services, every user, every device has the ability to query DNS and validate those records. And doing it in PowerShell is very easy. So that kind of gave me the idea is like, hey, how about we just throw this into a GUI, and that makes it that much easier. So that's kind of what I ended up doing here is creating a GUI for this customer that to make it easier to look up DNS and then also change the DNS as needed. So in this case, I'm going to show you the PowerShell script. We're going to run it in ISE as an administrator. That means a user with elevated rights. And then let's run it as a normal user. So somebody that doesn't have admin rights. And then we'll kind of check it out there and see what we built into the script to make that work. So you'll see here that this goes in. We have a domain array that you can do for the dropdown. And this is just defining the DNS zones, which we can define the update for. And typically in an enterprise environment, you'd put all the DNS zones in here. That just tells us, hey, we're going to check for this record in this DNS zone or this record in this DNS zone and so on. You'll see in here, this is the form formatting for PowerShell forms, a lot of the options in there. And then this gets into the logic. And this is the logic that we'll do for checking and updating the user's credentials and validating if we can push or it'll do the lookup of the DNS record depending on how you have that selected, and then it'll also push the capability. So this makes it really easy. This is actually going to check to see if the feature is installed, and if not, it'll actually install it on our machine. Pretty slick stuff. So now that we've kind of looked over this, I mean, I'm sure I could go into this greater detail. Feel free. There'll be a link to this PowerShell script that'll take to my GitHub location, so you can pull it down, change it, modify it, do whatever you want with it. But I was pretty proud about this after building this out, that once you click or execute the PowerShell script, this is exactly what it does. And I'm actually running this on a Windows 365 Cloud PC hybrid Azure AD join connected to my domain environment. And if you don't believe me, like let's say that there is a question here on whether we actually are operating in a domain environment, we could actually probably just go in and do a quick PowerShell command, do a dsreg cmd/status to get the quick status of, are we hybrid Azure AD joined? And we are. We're Azure AD joined with domain joined to the on-prem domain. And it shows that we are on a CPC. So in order for this form to work, it does have to be on a hybrid Azure AD join. It can probably work. I actually never tested it on an Azure AD join, believe it or not. It was built for a domain environment. No, it'd have to work. The query lookup would actually work in Azure AD join. That won't be a problem. What would break is if you're trying to do a write back, because we're still using Kerberos-based authentication to write back. I'm sure with some of the new Azure AD authentication or Azure AD Kerberos integration, it probably would work. But right now, with the way the form's written today, I just never tested it. So feel free to give it a shot. And if you get it working, let me know. So this is the form. You can go in here. You can select what kind of record type, whether we do A record or C record. I mean, there are a lot of other record types in AD, but these were the two that I was primarily concerned about. I can pick my zone, and so this looks up against that array. I'm going to pick onprem.mauvland.net for my on-premise. I'm going to do test. Believe it or not, I created a test record that's called test. And I click this little lookup button, and look at this. The output is 8.8.8.8. For those of you who know whose IP address, probably not good to be tying test.onprem.mauvtek.net to 8.8.8.8, Google's primary DNS public update IP. So let's update that to something internal. We're going to go to, let's do like a 10.10.10.10. You know, we're super original here. We're going to get out into our own private IP address, and we're going to just do an update record. And that says updated 10.10.10.10. What we can do is go into here. Let's do a quick refresh on our zone, and you'll see test in here. I know that's super tiny, has been updated to 10.10.10.10. Because we're super efficient, we're going to go in and take another look. We're going to look up test 2, do a lookup 9.9.9.9, wherever that came from. So let's do 10.0.0.0.0, or whatever, 88. Let's do update that record. We've updated that record. We hit refresh, reload. Oh, come on. Yes, we'll reload the zone. We'll refresh the zone. Bam. You'll see that record automatically got updated. Pretty easy to do this. It's just extremely straightforward. And really what the customer I was working with, what they were doing is they're using this on static servers that were running during the day. And they couldn't do DNS load balancing. What that means, DNS load balancing is typically we have multiple DNS records in DNS pointing to the same CNAME or a record to multiple locations. And then it just hits the first one, goes down through the list. So they were static one-to-one. Periodically, if they had an outage, a tool went down, they would have to manually go in, update DNS, and then give it another whirl. So what we did is we created them this tool that they could do that. Oh my goodness, we just got really big. So I hope you enjoyed a little bit about that tool. I mean, I think I probably wrote that like 4 years ago for this customer I was working with. But I hope you found some value in it. I hope you can use it. I hope you can take it and do something really cool with it. If you do find some really cool uses for it, feel free to ping me back on Twitter at Mauvland, or on my blog at Mauvtek.com. Or even on LinkedIn. Look me up, Adam Nichols. I'm a product manager with the Microsoft AutoPatch team. So thanks a lot. Have a great, whatever time you're in, and we'll see you soon.